Hello, Coolman229 here with another Topic of the Week video. This week I'll be discussing rewriting Harry Potter. This week's topic was submitted by Cherry Blossom 50, Tumblr user, and their topic is: how would you rewrite the series of Harry Potter so that it didn't suck? Or how would you fix the bad parts? Now, it's kind of funny because as much as I love rewriting stuff, I mean, I always come up with different ideas to rewrite stuff. I see there's potential. I'll, basically, take it and I'll rewrite the stuff to make it a better series. And in fact, I have 2 Word documents up on my computer right now about 2 different series that I'm actually, that I have stuff written for rewrites. I mean, I do it all the time with stuff, and I have like a whole list like that long of things that I would rewrite with significant plans of how I would do that. But for some reason, I never did Harry Potter. I mean, outside of a few what-if scenarios of people asking me, how would you handle this? Or, what would you do differently in this part? I've never actually done any significant rewrite ideas for Harry Potter. And, I kind of thought about this, and I had to think about this topic for a while. And I thought, man, I'm like, why did I never do that? And I kind of thought about it, and I kind of came to the conclusion that it's probably because I was so in love with Harry Potter as a kid. I mean, who wasn't? I mean, it was such a big series when I was growing up, and just realizing how bad it was just depressing. And I think maybe I was just so heartbroken over Harry Potter that it's hard to go back and rewrite something like that. That was such a big part of my childhood. And I mean, even if the story is bad, and I've already said how bad it is, I mean, it's hard to really go back to that just because it's almost depressing, because I was thinking about it, and I've been thinking of different rewrite ideas in preparation for this topic, and man, it's almost a downer. Like, man, the series that I held in such high regard when I was 10, 12, looking back, it's like, it didn't deserve it, and I do think that maybe that's that feeling, because I know I used to love it, and in recent years, in the last, I would say, about 5, 6, maybe 7 years, I've really started to come to think of, yeah, this series was not good, and it's kind of been depressing thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I was just kind of like struggling to come up with ideas because I can't build up the enthusiasm to rewrite. And it's like, I loved Harry Potter, where's this enthusiasm? And it's because, I was just so heartbroken by this series. It ended up being so bad. And so I think that's probably why I've never done this before, despite my habit to. But so I did think about this, and when it comes to rewriting the series, like I said in my Attack on Titan my Attack on Titan video that I did, I think it was topic video 6, it was one of my early ones, where I talked about how I didn't really have a lot of rewrite ideas for Attack on Titan, because to go back so far and to the first arc, and then rewrite everything else after that, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to have to take all this stuff, I'm going to have to take all these characters, I'm going to develop all this stuff, and it's like, and it's exhausting, and it would honestly take a long time. And the same thing applies to Harry Potter. Personally, I like the first 3 books, and after going over them, and thinking about this again, and looking at things with a more analytical view, I do like them. They're not perfect, mind you, but nothing has to be perfect, nothing can be perfect, but I like the first 3 books. I like the Sorcerer's Stone, The Chamber of Secrets, and The Prisoner of Azkaban. So I would pick up at the story of the Goblet of Fire. And I do stuff like this for a lot of reasons. I mean, first off, if something's good, if I find something good, then I say, what's the point in rewriting this? Like, it's already there, and it's fine, it's done, there's no point of redoing it to basically change what would honestly be fairly minor points, and of course my tendency is to basically put foreshadowing in and building up plot points and just putting little things in there so that they come up late. When they come up later, it's like, oh wait, I remember this was mentioned back early on. So, and another reason is I do like the idea of putting that sort of handicap on myself, and I've done this a lot of times of, okay, I'll rewrite it, but I'll only take it from this point, so I won't touch this part. but I'll take it from there. So I use this, so I have to follow that. And it's a nice little narrative exercise too. If you have to put these limitations on yourself, how can you write around it? It's a fun little thing that I like to do. But so yeah, so with Harry Potter, I would just like the first 3 books are fine. I'll move on from there. If I did go back and change them, the main thing I would do is I'd just have them kill Peter Pettigrew. I'd have Sirius and Lupin just kill him, because oh my gosh, the whole thing of, you know, not killing him was dumb. Just I just would say that he died, because I never liked Peter Pettigrew, and he's just a murderer. He's just a psychopathic killer. He's a wizard Nazi. There's no point in trying to keep him alive so that you can go, look at me, I'm a good person. I kept this wizard Nazi alive to go in or resurrect Voldemort. Oops. But anyway, moving on to the actual stuff that I would rewrite. Now, this isn't going to be specifically book by book, like details of everything, because again, like I said, that would take a really long time. So I'm going to go for more general ideas and general fixes, basically like what the topic said, of fixing the bad parts. And basically the general direction I would take the series in. So going in after the Prisoner of Azkaban, I would really heavily focus on Sirius. Sirius popped up a couple times in Goblet of Fire, really, and frankly, I would actually really start delving into, you know, him and like Harry going to live with him, moving away from the Dursleys. Because the second he comes in, like this was touched on in the books, and then boom, Sirius dies in Order of Azkaban. Well, Order of the Phoenix, they just mixed up 2 books. And he dies in the 5th book, and it's like, So yeah, I would have Harry, you know, talk about that, and that would be something Harry looks forward to in moving on, like moving away from the Dursleys. And the Dursleys would be, yeah, glad to get rid of him. And so that would be set up, and that would be sort of a plot point in the background, which would come into play at the end of the book when Harry moves to, was it 13 Grimmauld Place? But it's where the Black Estate is. And move there, and then, you know, that would actually even transition well into the 5th book. But, regardless. But, so, I mean, when you have the whole, mine's moving a million miles an hour. I would still have the Triwizard Tournament, but I wouldn't have Harry compete in it. Man, I'm so tongue-tied this video. The hoops that the story had to jump through to get Harry into it, keep him in it, and basically be like, okay, you literally have to risk your life on something you basically had no choice in. And we're going to have to completely contrive rules to force you to compete. Just done. I mean, you'd still have Fleur come in and be the, you know, from Bulbattens. You'd still have Crumb come in from, is it Durmstrad? Those details are fuzzy on me. I mean, stuff like that, that's fine. The Yule Ball, that's fine. Harry in his developing a relationship with Cho, that's fine. You really see this is where his crush comes in. And her dating Cedric, that's fine. And Cedric goes in and represents Hogwarts. And they're doing the whole stuff in the background while Harry, Ron, and Hermione they're investigating stuff. Like, okay, something seems fishy. Like, they see things going off in the, like in the tournaments, and sometimes there are weird things that happen, and the ultimate answer would be like there's weird magic going on, and like say the dragons are responding weirdly to this magic, like they're like Moody, who's really Barty Crouch Jr., and that whole little storyline, that's fine. I like that. You'd have him making a port key to take Harry to the graveyard, and it wouldn't be the Goblet of Fire. So I don't know what I would call this book, because it wouldn't be called the Goblet of Fire, but it would, and this is going on, and you see Harry, Ron, and Hermione, or say Hermione notices something. These dragons are reacting weirdly, and maybe you have, was it Charlie? I think it's Charlie that dealt with the dragons. Have Charlie actually come in and have him talking talking to Ron, be like, this is weird. The dragons aren't supposed to be responding like this. And then, you know, you start this mystery going on of what they're doing. Like, okay, so we're trying to figure out what's going on, and the whole Triwizard Tournament's going on in the background, and that's more of just a setup for these other characters being in. And you deal with Snape having, you know, the death mark from his time as a Death Eater. So you deal with that, and I kind of like have, you know, what's his name? I forgot the guy from the Russian guy. You know, the guy from, I don't know if he's Russian. I think he's like Eastern European or something. But anyway, regardless of ethnicities, you know, him talking with Snape, and I'd actually go into detail about that. Maybe Harry sneaking around with the invisibility cloak, and he hears them talk about the time as Death Eaters, and they're arguing over it, and then Snape, basically we find out that Snape, you know, was a Death Eater, and he did bad stuff, and he's like, I'm trying to do better, like, you know, or it would be nice if he's like, this is what Lily would have wanted, and then Harry's like, hold the phone, what do you mean, did you mention my mom? And I would actually, this is where you start building that up. But I wouldn't have there be a romance. It would be that Lily was his childhood friend. And I think that works fine. And you see that after she died, he kind of had this weird that was what kind of snapped him out of being a Death Eater, and then that's when he went to Dumbledore, and that stuff would be touched on in later books. But I'd want to make it so that Snape didn't come off as a complete, utter psychopathic creep like he does in the books. It was his best friend who died, and he realized that, you know, all the stuff he had done, he'd become such a monster. And you see this other guy who's basically trying to bury their past, and he's like, no, he says, I don't want to talk about this again. I don't want to deal with this. And, you know, then you have that be something like a little subplot going on in the book. So you get a few scenes of that throughout, you know, throughout the book. And you kind of establish that Snape acts like a dick, and he does need to learn to stop being a dick to people, especially Harry. But he's trying to do better, but he has so much darkness in him that he's trying to, and it's hard for him to be good. I mean, okay, like Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, where, you know, you get to like the Boo Saga, and despite the fact that he's got a family, he's technically a good guy, he still is dickish, he still is a jerk to people, and he willingly submits himself to evil just to get a rematch with Goku. But I mean, you still have these like mistakes, but ultimately he's still sympathetic. And I'd want this to be ultimately Severus Snape's his own character arc over the series to ultimately be a redemption story. Not the girl I wanted to bone died, I'm gonna abuse her kid now. But yeah, and ultimately, you know, the Triwizard Tournament finishes, and you know, they've come across some clues or whatever. I don't know exactly how the plot would go with that, but then you'd have, you know, they wouldn't really be suspecting Moody at first, but then eventually Moody gets Harry cornered, and he tricks him into going in through a port key, and Cedric sees this, and he basically goes and tries to save Harry and grab him, and then he grabs onto them, and then boom, he's warped into the port key too. They end up in the graveyard, and then, you know, this is when the big reveal that Barty Crouch, Moody, no, I'm Barty Crouch Jr. And then you have from this whole flashbacks, you know, you actually see, oh crap, it's like he'd been played for a fool the whole time. I mean, you still have a bit of a similar thing of him revealing, like, why do you think I gave Neville that book? He says it was supposed to help you. Or, but he was trying to help Harry throughout the series, because he's trying to get him in a position to use this port key that they're going to use. But he's like, all this reveals that all this stuff that seemed innocuous at first was actually part of his plan, ultimately to resurrect Voldemort, that he was working with Wormtail with, and other Death Eaters. So then, you know, Cedric is killed by Voldemort. Cedric is just killed, and then Harry is forced into the ritual to revive Voldemort. And then basically Harry barely escapes with his life and Cedric's body, and then boom, Cedric dies. They go back through the port key, and then they escape, and then Harry's just like, they're back, Voldemort's back, and then everyone's like, oh crap, and then at the end you have Harry, like, you know, you have your denouement, you're basically discussing what went on through the story, And then I would end it with Harry moving to Sirius's place, and this is where we start getting our first real glimpses of the Order of the Phoenix. And then that's, where the book ends. So you do have something of a bit of a decent note to end on. So then the 5th book comes in, and then you pick up from there. Harry is at, Sirius's place, and he's kind of like waking up and forgetting, wait, I'm not at the Dursleys anymore. Hell yeah! So then you have a lot of stuff. You have stuff with the Order of the Phoenix, and that's fine. Now, when it involves in the prophecy, normally I'm really like, when it comes to Chosen One prophecies, and just prophecies in general when it comes to that. But since divination is part of the series, as established in The Prisoner of Azkaban, I think it's fine. And the fact that Voldemort ended up causing the prophecy that he was trying to prevent, which set the whole story on the path that he would end up losing in the way that the prophecy had stated. Excuse me. I like that irony in Voldemort's defeat. That had he done nothing, it probably wouldn't have happened. But he did something in a desperate attempt to make it not happen, only to cause it to happen. So I'd have that. I'd have the whole thing of Harry having those dreams with Voldemort and the occlumency. And ultimately, one thing I would have with Snape, is I'd really kind of develop Snape and basically what exactly went on with him. And you start getting these more clues of the beef he had with Harry's father. And I'd actually really kind of use this to develop Snape, that he actually has to face the fact that the only reason he treats Harry so meanly is the fact that he looks like his dad. And that, this is a kid who, his parents were killed when he was a baby. He doesn't know anything that's going on. And then Harry ends up confronting him over this. And he'd be like, you knew my mom when you were kids. And then he basically just, and he's just, Snape just has to come to terms with the fact that this is Lily's son. Look what you've become. Even when you've become a good guy, you're still treating the son of the girl who was your best friend growing up like crap, and you treat people like crap, and Harry would call him out on this, and ultimately Dumbledore would call him out on this, and Snape basically Snape goes over through his life, and he sees the times he was bullied, and then he realizes that he's become the bully that he hated. And that really would set off his character development to truly, truly want to be the kind of person that Lily would have wanted him to be. Because he knew it, he realizes that's why he left the Death Eaters and became a double agent for Dumbledore. But, this is when it all clicks in his head that, oh, I'm pretty much the world's biggest douchebag right now. Crap. So, and then you'd have some sort of understanding between Snape and Harry, and be like, and then you see Snape stops treating Harry so badly, and everyone's just like, what happened to Professor Snape? and there should be a nice moment near the end when Draco's trying to do something douchey to Harry, and then Snape says 10 points from Slytherin, and he's just like, what are you doing, Professor? And then you have this moment where he just looks at, Snape looks at Harry, and he's just like, don't expect me to do that all the time, with that kind of look on his face. And and then he punishes Draco for doing douchey stuff. But the plot overall wasn't really that bad. I'd really I actually do like Umbridge as a character. Frankly, I like the idea that she's this basically just a government worker who comes in and is like, here, I'm going to force you to follow all these regulations I brought with me. And it's all these absurd rules, and she thinks she's helping everyone, but she's basically making everything completely useless. And I don't think she should be trying to make things useless. I like the idea that she is a government official who thinks that she's making everything a better place. Like when they come in, they try to change all the food in a school to be healthy and ends up turning into total crap. It's like she comes in, she forces all the house elves in the kitchen to make only healthy food, and all the kids are sitting there looking at blocks of tofu like, where's our whole turkeys, and where's our cake, and where's all the food we've always eaten? And she'd be like, nope, it's all nice. It's all this healthy stuff now. But then you have all this blowback. Then you have the students and the teachers revolting against her. And then you even have, and I'd still keep the whole thing where you know, George and Fred end up leaving in their bombastic style. And then Harry would have still given them money to help them start their shop, though in this case, instead of being winnings from the Triwizard Tournament, it would just be money that he had, because of course he's filthy rich and doesn't know what to do with it. He's got a vault full of mountains of gold, and he doesn't know what the hell he's gonna do with all that in his life. But so yeah, he helps them out. Then but yeah, overall, then they still invade the Ministry. You still have Luna come in, and I'd really like this in the 5th book. I'd really have Draco, like introducing that Draco is having to do like this is where he's kind of starting to have to get orders from his father that now Voldemort's back. We need to be following him, and I'd kind of show a little bit of that from his side, where he's like, So yeah, everything plays out a lot of the same, except Sirius doesn't die. You know, no one really dies. You know, Cedric's death was impactful because hardly anyone does die. So you have this. He's a character that's introduced in the 4th book, and then he dies in the 4th book, and he's just likable enough to where, you know, you get attached to him, but he's not a significant character. He's not even really that much of a supporting character. He's just kind of there throughout the book, who sort of becomes Harry's friend, and he's kind of dating the girl that Harry likes. But then he dies, and that's significant. And, you know, he's not really that major of a character, so ultimately, ultimately a lot of that would play out fairly the same, with a lot of details changed. But then, you know, the whole thing with they'll break in the Ministry and the whole big battle. And I'd still keep that, you know, Dumbledore come in and save everyone. And going into the 6th book, I really, really, and speaking of the 6th book, I'd have Horcruxes, like, established prior to the 6th book, like, maybe in the 4th book or 5th book. Like, we have different things where Dumbledore, you know, maybe Dumbledore's talking to Harry, and he implies, you know, the existence of, you know, Horcruxes, or he mentions stuff, or Harry comes off it, or Hermione discovers something in research, this concept of Horcruxes, and, you know, just something like that to establish the idea of them before they're officially introduced in the 6th book. And the 6th book is, I mean, a lot of the general ideas are fine. I mean, Dumbledore wouldn't die. One thing that I do think that this book, this story should be doing is really focusing on Draco's side of the story. And you do get some of that, but really, I think ultimately, I mean, I talked about this in a previous video when I talked about the Harry Potter trio, is I would ultimately have, you know, Draco, basically, he's tasked with assassinating Dumbledore. Like, that, he says, this is your main initiation to being a Death Eater now, and he's just, like, sweating bullets, because he's like, okay, like, superiority, I'm a noble, rich kid from a fancy family, like, okay, that's fine, but now you want me to commit murder? Like, and then it really causes him to evaluate things, and Snape is sort of, like, trying to mentor him into a way to get him out of this, and he's trying to protect him. And the whole thing with Dumbledore, where, you know, like I said, Dumbledore doesn't die, but he does fake his death to trick Voldemort. And, I mean, I'd remove a lot of the manipulations of Dumbledore, like, ultimately going into the 5th, 6th, and 7th book. You know, just take it all out, that he's generally trying to help people. And, I mean, ultimately, when I get to the 7th book, I'll just say I just don't cut out the whole thing where Dumbledore was a wizard supremacist. That was dumb. Then, I mean, the 6th book, I mean, I guess a lot of this would play out the same, except in this case, oh yeah, in the 5th book, Cho wouldn't be written out like that. Now, I admit, I'm a big fan of Harry and Cho. I was since I was a kid. They were like a childhood OTP of mine. I'm not going to lie. But they do have, you know, there was build-up in the books for them getting together. From Harry meeting her in the 3rd book to his, you know, growing crush on her in the 4th book. to them ultimately kind of getting together in the 5th book, and then come the 6th book, in my version, you know, the whole thing with her friend, that just, yeah, it wouldn't happen. You know, all that stuff going on, that stuff wouldn't happen. It's just, you know, they're together, and then Harry, Harry and Jo are together in the 6th book, and the whole thing with Jenny, just dumb, kind of. I've already talked about why Henny is bad, but one of the things that really, you really need to like continue these plot lines. It's important in a story to continue plot lines and not chop them off for absolutely no reason and being like, okay, here's another character, we're gonna hook up with them randomly. All right, okay, bye. I mean, Jenny's not really that relevant of a character, but I mean, a lot of stuff you'd have in the 6th book. I mean, you'd have Luna being more relevant to this. You know, she'd show up more. Though I would really, really prefer her not to be such a Gryffindor fangirl because, come on, she's a Ravenclaw. In fact, why don't you have her and Cho be friends? That would be great. 2 Ravenclaws. They'd know each other. You know, they're in close years. But anyway. The story, I mean, honestly, the story of the Half-Blood Prince was fairly forgettable. I mean, I do like the whole mystery of the Half-Blood Prince, of who is the Half-Blood Prince. You know, and Harry, you know, and Slughorn coming in, and I like the ideas of that, and the whole Slug Club, and, you know, that stuff, that's fine. A lot of that's fine. You know, then Harry takes Cho as his date, and she ends up helping the group. And, you know, they're kind of helping, you know, they're figuring stuff out, you know, Cho being a Ravenclaw, and her and Hermione. I just like her and Hermione to actually get along, because Hermione really should have been a Ravenclaw. But if we're taking it from the first 3 books, then that's something that I can't change. But, and then you really kind of develop, and they meet, like, they have conflicts with Draco, and they think it's, you know, Draco's becoming worse and worse, but you find out he's basically being forced to be evil. And ultimately they do, Snape does step in and kill Dumbledore, but this is all part of Dumbledore's plan to fake his death so that Draco would not have to go through that. Because Dumbledore's got to be a good guy, like, not a manipulative bastard. So, you know, that whole thing, and it seems like Dumbledore's gone, except you know, teachers, like McGonagall knows, Flitwick knows, Hagrid knows. I mean, teachers, a lot of the people behind the scenes, they know what's going on. But, you know, a lot of the students don't know, and they can't have this getting out. So then McGonagall moves up as the headmistress for, you know, after that incident. And then I guess a lot of that would play out somewhat the same, except Draco basically runs off, and he leaves. And, you know, Snape reports, you know, to Voldemort, or to Lucius, really, that, you know, he killed Dumbledore, and he accomplished his goal. So, you know, basically they wouldn't hunt him down, though. He's like, where is he? He's like, I don't know. It's like, well, I guess I don't know. Why are you asking me? But then, you know, I'd have a scene at the end of the 6th book where Draco kind of, like, confronts Harry, and he's just like, I need your help. And so then you move into the 7th book, because, you know, just to establish that he kind of wants to, it's like, despite their conflicts, he does want to work with Harry, because he realizes, like, oh gosh, I know I've been such a dick, but, you know, please, forgive me. And he ends up sort of being like the Zuko of the group. I mean, frankly, if I was doing it, I would try to establish his character development sooner, but you can't really do that until Voldemort comes back. But that's besides the point. So in the 7th book, I mean, I like the idea of there being more lore to the series, but frankly, the whole 3 brothers thing was dumb. It's trying to insert a bunch of lore when it just doesn't need to exist. I mean, the idea of the Elder One in and of itself being sort of borderline mythological, and Dumbledore owning that wand, that's fine. I kind of like that. And then, you know, they want to take the wand, you know, from him. But the whole thing of the invisibility cloak, come on, it was already established when it was introduced. It's, you know, that's just something that's rare. It's not like this is a one-of-kind mythological item that Harry's dad just happen to have. Yeah, so there would be the mythological wand is kind of what I would deal with it. It's a wand that can basically be used by anyone. I mean, like Dumbledore fighting Grindelwald is interesting, and the fact that he did that long ago over the, control of the Elder Wand. He had to stop him from becoming, basically being Wizard Hitler, but then of course, then Voldemort becomes Wizard Hitler. Oops. I mean, I'm kind of torn on what I would want to do, because on one hand, I really don't like Harry Potter and the Extended Camping Trip, which is what Deathly Hallows pretty much was, and the fact that, you don't have much of the school, but on the other hand, a change of pace from them being at school all the time, I guess it might be needed, but I think a healthy mix of the two, like, they go to school, but then we see more of them going off. And maybe the whole book doesn't take over the course of a school year. Maybe they're doing stuff in the year, and then basically that's only like part of the book is them at their school year, and then after that, you have this adventure that's going on. You thought it was over at the school year. It says, but then they end up having to leave at the end. Then they have this adventure with Dumbledore. So I maybe it's or. That's something I haven't really decided on, and I don't know if I would, because there's so many ways you can take this, and there's so many things you could really do with the Deathly Hallows, because the book overall is bad. Okay, the whole beginning where they're trying to hunt Harry and everyone's trying to disguise him, though I like that. And them having to run off, and I kind of like the idea of like some of the students basically like running off. And I think that might be what I'd do. You'd have Harry and his friends, and you'd have Cho, and then you'd have Luna, and then you'd have Neville, and then you'd have several other people, including Draco, because Draco actually does know stuff about Voldemort and the Death Eaters since his father was involved, and he could help them out. And they sort of like band together in this group with the Order of the Phoenix, and they all like get ready to fight Voldemort, and they kind of miss their last year of school, at least. I do like how so they missed their last year of school, but you have an adventure. It's not just Harry, Ron, and Hermione run off because dumb. They discover stuff. They'd be kind of running off. I wouldn't kill anyone. Like seriously, the kill-a-thon that the Deathly Hallows was so dumb. I mean, really, let's keep all these characters that we love around. Like, sure, things can get dangerous, but you don't have to kill people to make a story dramatic and interesting. Don't know why so many authors don't understand that. So, really, yeah, a lot of that would, they'd play out, they'd be trying to figure things out, destroying the Horcruxes so that Voldemort can't do it, and then discovering the history of Voldemort, history of Dumbledore, and then Dumbledore shows up, Gandalf the White style, and he's gonna be like, you thought I was dead. He's like, but I'm not. It's like, surprise, I bet you thought you'd see the last of me. But then Dumbledore comes in as like their leader figure, and he's basically like, okay, we're gonna get ready for a fight with Voldemort. And the whole fight taking place at Hogwarts is fine. But, then, they go in, they destroy the Horcruxes, and then you learn, I guess this might end up being kind of like borderline Order of the, Lord of the Rings, but hey, it's not really a bad thing. Then you have everyone going off on this adventure, destroying the Horcruxes, Dumbledore explaining things. They learn about, Tom Riddle and his family. I don't think I would handle it the same as the book, but again, that's something I'd have to go back and reread the Deathly Hallows again to really get the full context of the book, and I'm not going to do that anytime soon. I've already suffered enough with this series. But, so yeah, and you have that, then ultimately everyone's getting ready for the confrontation. And you have the story, and they're on the run from Death Eaters. They're fighting Death Eaters. The group has to split, and then ultimately everyone comes together with the big battle at Hogwarts for, between Harry and Voldemort. And, I kind of like the idea that Harry, dies, but then he, is revived because Dumbledore had planned this from the beginning. He's like, you magnificent bastard, I read your book. It's like he had figured out that Harry would die, so he basically established it so that he would his body would like die, but then he's resuscitated via magic, because magic, you can do a lot with magic. And then he comes back, and then Voldemort's last Horcrux is gone, and then he's like, oh no, what's going on? And it's just be like, he's like, you know, bam, Voldemort's dead. Oh, I think it'd be funny though if someone shot him with a gun. Like, all this magic, and what kills them, like, Voldemort is a gun. It's like, especially since guns are mentioned early on as that killing wand thing that humans have, that regular people, Muggles have. That would be funny if that'd be funny if we introduced a character who wasn't afraid of using Muggle technology. Mr. Weasley comes in with a machine gun. He's just like, "Hey, Voldemort, eat this." Okay, no, I wouldn't have Mr. Weasley do that, but that would be funny if someone did kill him with a gun. Like, they weaken him, he's gone, and it's like, okay, are we gonna use a killing spell on him? And then someone's just like, no, bang! I think that would actually be a funny little cap off to the series. It's the, hey, remember when guns were mentioned one time, and like, what was it, the Sorcerer's Stone? It was an early book, but yeah, they kill Voldemort, and then you know, all the Death Eaters are captured, and Draco would have to fight his father. Draco versus Lucius, that would be an epic fight. Father versus son. And especially over the, I don't know why you gave up on the Death Eaters. That was always your dream. It's not my dream, Dad. It's yours. Okay, but in all seriousness, they'd have they fight each other, and then you'd have this big dramatic moment where Draco beats Lucius, and then at the end everyone kind of gathers together, and I don't know if Snape would die. I mean, it's a possibility, but I kind of like the idea that afterwards he's become a much better person, and you have this sort of like this, you know, this epilogue, and it shows them back at school, because all the people who left had to finish out their school year, and everyone had to repeat that year because Voldemort ended up attacking Hogwarts, and Death Eaters were crawling all over it for a while, so everyone just has to repeat the year. And you don't really, and you have like you have Harry and Cho, and then I haven't really thought of any other romances, and frankly, I don't know if I would really kind of dive into that much. I mean, I wouldn't have Ron and Hermione get together. I just never really liked that, but maybe just kind of leave that alone. Maybe drop some hints of certain pairings. I kind of like the idea of like Neville and Luna. You know, it's like, stuff like that. That's fine. Like, but I really wouldn't like go romance heavy. Like, let's pair everyone up Naruto style. But really, and then at the end you kind of have them like all gathering together, and you see all the people like Malfoy's there, and like all the people who like they had fought before, and they're all friends now. They're all under Headmistress McGonagall, and Dumbledore comes back as more of an advisory position. He's there at Hogwarts, but he's sort of like, he's there to advise McGonagall, because, you know, he's like, my time has come, I've been headmaster for long enough, it's time someone else takes my place. And he's like, McGonagall, you are the one person who really deserves this. And she'd be like, hell yeah, I deserve it. But yeah, then you end up capping off the series and seeing the last look at the characters, and then you end up, then that's it. That's how you'd end the series. The evil is gone. The evil is defeated. Everyone's, you know, together. They're at Hogwarts. They're celebrating. And then that's how you end it. And woof, man, I'm sure this topic video ended up being a lot longer than I intended it to be. I was only going to go over a few details, but I guess you know, once I get those gears turning, it's like, you know, I start coming up with these ideas. These are a lot of the stuff I had prepared before, but then I started coming up with more ideas and started changing things. Well, that's just the way my mind works. But yeah, I mean, I think that would really kind of solve a lot of the problems. And I didn't go into all of the little details. I didn't go into all of the subplots, and I didn't go into all that stuff. But I mean, I could touch on stuff like showing Gilderoy Lockhart, you know, recovering his memory and maybe showing him at the end where he's trying to like help the people that he had that he basically wiped their memories for, and he's basically becomes an advocate of trying to help people recover memories. And at first people think it's because, oh, Gilderoy Lockhart was forcibly had his memories removed, so now he's an advocate. Oh, Mr. Satan, we love you, kind of a thing. And then he's basically like, no, I'm trying to, mend the things that I'd done. And, he uses his fame to help people. And you see Lucius, get his just desserts. And, he's in Azkaban. And, it's... in that way, I think that would be a satisfying ending. Like, you take that, and that's the satisfying way to deal with the series. So, ultimately, the main death in the series is Cedric. And then people will remember that. People won't remember the series as, oh, you killed all my favorite characters. It'll be, oh, remember Cedric's death? And it would be for sort of like Mace Hughes in Fullmetal Alchemist, where people remember it and people care about that death. It didn't turn to a kill-a-thon where it killed off, like, I don't know, 40-50% of the cast. Pretty much all my favorite characters by the end of the 7th book. But and then you see Harry, Sirius has his name finally... Oh, yeah, you end with having Sirius with his name finally cleared. And then you have... and then he's basically able to walk around, as a normal person. He visits Harry at Hogwarts. And just like old times, he gives him a new broomstick, the newest model. And, they talk about their future. And you have sort of it wouldn't deal with, like, graduation, but everyone's kind of, like, looking forward to the future. And, okay, yeah. Alright, I'm done. Okay, so I'm done with this. I think this video is probably going to be long enough, but that, I think, is the best way to handle the series. And it really kind of solves a lot of the issues that I ended up having with the series. And ultimately, I think that would leave people satisfied, and at the end, people would remember Harry Potter as a great series. And there wouldn't be, contention on whether it was good or not. Hopefully that would make it be like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where people widely recognize it as great. And that's what Harry Potter deserves. Harry Potter deserves that level of recognition with this kind of story. And yeah. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm done with this topic video. So I wanted to hear what you guys think of this topic video. Do you like the ideas that I had? Do you like what I changed? Do you think that there should be other things that I changed, things that I missed? Would you disagree, or did you disagree with what I did, and would you change other things? Or would you take the story in a different direction? I do really want to hear what y'all think about this, because my ideas are just one of many possibilities. Like I said, you could take this in so many different ways, and I want to know what you guys think. And I want to know, did you like this? Because I like this. I think this is a pretty solid way to handle the story. But that's just my perspective, and you always need a second perspective on things. So I do want to hear what you guys think. So comment below on the video with what you think. If you want to submit another topic for me, then just comment below. If you're on YouTube or if you're on Tumblr, send me an ask and do topic : then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Just make sure to follow the rules that I'll be posting down below on both Tumblr and YouTube. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. And thank you for watching.